Hello and welcome back to this week's podcast. Today we're going to be doing things slightly differently, and we're going to be talking about women in motorsport. So, I'm Ria.
I'm Maham. Oh, sorry.
I'm joined with
Maham,
Pramica,
and Amelie.
So, yeah, let's get into it. So we're going to start off by talking about Susie Wolff, and mainly the controversies and everything that kind of happened a couple of months ago with Toto Wolff and all that information. So, yeah, what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, it lasted, 40 hours?
Yep.
Yeah.
Conflict of interest. I mean, I think, were they even told about it beforehand?
Well, Mercedes, Toto, and Susie came out to go, yeah, this was targeted at us, and that's the only way that we received confirmation. But it all just came from a baseless rumor or a source, and then it was like one media outlet.
Yeah, that was it, and it kind of snowballed, I think, after that, and everyone kind of jumped on the trend to want to talk about it.
Didn't an unnamed F1 official mention it to someone?
Yeah,
apparently, yeah.
I think it was to do with Toto apparently saying something in like a team principal meeting.
Yeah, and then
he
one
had
of those
information that only FOM would have known about.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like every single team put out something saying we didn't say anything.
Also, conflict between FIA and F1, because again, this is the only time that I've seen all 10 teams rally over something and be in agreement.
Yeah, that's why I think it was over so fast.
Right.
Because it made them look a little bit silly. I mean, Fred Vasseur even said that. It was kind of embarrassing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, as an institution, to be going after something like that, I just don't think it makes sense, especially if it's on one media source or it's from one, like, unnamed individual who doesn't want to come forward about this. I just don't think it makes sense to have, on such a big platform, to have that kind of attention.
Yeah.
Also, the idea of a conflict of interest, I understand as a sports viewer, but F1 is so deeply incestuous. If you think about, like, genuinely, like, engineers and also race directors and also people behind the scenes that we don't see, people are switching positions left, right, and
totally.
center.
Oh, absolutely.
And the fact that it's been centered towards Susie because of her marital status, it does tell you a lot about the culture.
Exactly. I mean, you have people in the governing body that used to be, like, former race engineers, team principals.
Yeah.
Call that a conflict of interest?
Right.
It's a bit strange.
I also think it's really smart that Susie and Toto and Mercedes came out and went, yes, this is directed towards us, because nobody had to speak out. And just because they did and it blew over so quickly, and again, it was so baseless, it's the only reason we're talking about it now. Like, it still happens, which is terrible.
No, absolutely. I remember when Susie put out her own personal statement about the situation, and I read through that, and I was just thought that it's such a powerful thing to do, to turn around and say that, yes, I understand this is targeted at me, and it's targeted at me because of who I'm married to, which is of little consequence to any other team principal on the F1 grid, or frankly anyone else in the situation as well. You mentioned about how obviously, like, engineers move and other team principals move. Off the top of my head, Ross Brawn was a team principal and then moved to a very big position in the FIA. There's never been any mention of the fact that he's been on both sides of the sport, so to speak. So the fact that Susie was targeted for this simply because of the fact that she's married to Toto Wolff, who happens to be a team principal, is absolutely, it's just ridiculous, I think.
Oh yeah, completely. And the outcry online over her response as
I'm
well.
going to play devil's advocate and ask, like, does that make her look guilty though? Like, coming out and putting forward, because I know there was quite a few conversations about that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. I do think that she has the right to kind of deny that because it's an attack on her and her credibility.
Yeah.
Simply because of who she's married to.
Yeah.
And that, you know, you're right to be quite angry about that, I think.
Yeah.
Also, this entire situation and the fact that it came from a baseless rumour, it kind of gave ammo to the people who think, women shouldn't be in the sport.
Yeah,
or, of
absolutely.
course, this is a married woman.
You can just say whatever and...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is why it fueled so much of a fire. And that's why it became
a lot of
such
people just kind of took it on Twitter and absolutely
They were like, of
ran
course,
with it.
they were affirmed with their own prejudice beliefs.
Yeah.
But again, they were all just baseless.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also the fact that she put that statement out there, otherwise I think if the situation had carried on escalating the way it seemed like it was going to for a moment after the 48 hours had passed, it would have, in a really horrible sense, it would have reduced Susie Wolff's role in motorsport to that one situation, which I think would be absolutely incorrect. What she has achieved as a woman in motorsport, both as a driver but then also behind the scenes, that should not be pushed aside just because of this one situation and who she happens to be married to.
Exactly, like she's so separate from her husband in motorsports. It's insane. As you say, she's done so much.
To be married.
That's it.
That's it.
And the fact that the concept of a conflict of interest can be brought out from that one fact that they are married, I think again is ridiculous. I'm sure they have other things that they talk about. They don't just sit there and discuss motorsports.
What about this contract?
but-
they have a kid together, so
I feel like that takes a bit more importance, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Contract. Yeah. Also, her follow-up statement, terrible. It was gut-wrenching.
Yeah.
I know.
When she went, "Is this it?" Again, this rumor was seen as baseless, and then nothing really happened. I think at the end she mentioned that she wanted to get down to the bottom of who started this media
Yeah.
frenzy, but nothing really came out of it.
I think it was because she wasn't directly contacted by the FIA
Yeah.
at all throughout it. So it just came and went.
Yes.
she had no
And-
idea what was.
Yeah.
Like, no
and
one
it did like a
had any
significant
idea.
amount of damage to her online because people just, like I said, took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
In the Mercedes statement, they said that we found this out not through the FIA, but through the media themselves. So,
Yeah, I think it's just ridiculous. I've pulled up her statement here, and her final sentence is, "What happened this week is simply not good enough. As a sport, we must demand and we deserve better." And frankly, I think that is how you can sum up what female treatment in motorsport is like, that we have to demand better because we deserve better. We're fans and we're spectators and we work behind the scenes. Like, there's countless women up and down the grid who probably looked at this example that they made of, or they tried to make of Susie, and thought, well, there's nothing stopping them coming after us in the exact same way, and it's completely incorrect.
Also, the
She's-
idea.
Yeah, no, she's so high up as well.
Yeah.
She's really paved the way for a lot
Yeah,
of people.
absolutely.
Seeing that can still happen to somebody who is so successful is really disheartening.
Also, like, going back to what you were just saying, like, the idea that, like, women cannot drive, it's just
God.
so...
please.
What do you... I mean, have we seen Charles Leclerc's parking? Let's
Let's take a moment and discuss that.
I feel like
reevaluate.
we could take a whole podcast for that.
Yeah, it might be a multiple race winner, but parallel park, dude.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay to use your mirrors and it's okay to use your sensors. There's no shame in it.
Yeah. We'll start a new trend. Oh.
Amazing.
But, like, the F1 Academy, though, that's been, like, such an incredible, like, initiative. A new way to, you know, bring in these female drivers and help them advance their careers.
I know, it's so fantastic because Vice, you know, first champion this year, Marta Garcia, fully funded seat in the regional championships.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is such a big step forward as well. Because we were talking about how they've increased the point system, so you can finally get super license points.
Yeah.
Being, I think it's like the top 5 spots of the championship.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that she can go from that in F1 Academy to, you know, potentially placing first, second, third in regionals.
Yeah.
And getting up to 25 points on the super
Yeah.
license.
Also, the fact that all 7 rounds are now supporting F1
F1
races
Yeah,
is
yeah,
so
absolutely.
much better.
Yeah.
The visibility is better, and also the fact that the teams are now backing.
Yeah, I was going
so
to say-
there's some sort of like allegiance or passion that people
Yeah.
can like develop towards them.
So you can root for a driver
Yeah.
because it's your team.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
I think it's the most wonderful thing, especially when you think of obviously what kind of series for women in motorsport have kind of preceded the F1 Academy, where they haven't quite had the same trajectory, or
Like W Series.
like W Series,
They
where
just
you couldn't
lost
even
funding.
you couldn't even watch them online. Like, no one was showing the races anywhere. There was no sense of, okay, we're actually going to root for this driver because we can see them perform, we can see what they're like in this machinery.
I think they're going to start
They're going to
broadcasting.
Yeah, they are
going
gonna
to
start,
They
yeah.
didn't last year, did
Yeah,
they?
they
No,
were
They
streamed
funded
yeah,
Boston.
they've realised.
Yeah.
People
mean,
need
yeah.
to see, people need to watch.
Yeah.
Good exposure, though. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Exactly.
really good.
But I will say, with all the backlash that W Series got, Jamie Chadwick has graduated to Indy next, so she's building
Yeah.
her life and career around
Yeah.
the American motor racing series. So something good has come out
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm glad It's not
definitely.
completely just fallen flat.
Nothing.
No,
Yeah.
because something has come
I
from
mean,
it.
Yeah.
Susie Wolff herself like,
Yeah.
drove
Yeah.
in W Series.
Oh,
and
yeah,
her
exactly.
now in F1 Academy, I mean,
Yeah.
like, as
I mean, yeah, you look at people like Jamie Chadwick, Susie
Yeah.
Wolff, coming from W Series.
Yeah.
So think of the girls that are in F1 Academy right now,
Yeah.
where they could go.
Also-
The sky is the limit for them, and I think that that's so incredible. Like, as an example, even though the W Series obviously didn't pan out quite as successfully as I think they had originally envisioned, the fact that Jamie Chadwick is doing this, it's a positive example to say that even if the series doesn't go well, there is nothing to say that you cannot build your own career. It takes one right place. All it takes is for you to be in the right place at the right time, and things do happen. And I think it's great, especially for, I hate to like generalize, but like for male spectators of the sport who turn around and say, well, look, you have things like the W Series and they don't work. This proves women don't belong in motorsport. Well, actually, she's built a very successful career for herself and she is just progressing. I remember when Susie Wolff was announced to be the managing director for F1 Academy, there was still contention, there were still rumours over the fact that she could have been the team principal of Williams as well, before obviously James Vowles was announced in the position. But it just goes to show all you need are positive examples. That's it. And literally the sky can be the limit then.
Not only that, but Naomi Schiff, she graduated to becoming a journalist. So
I
you
think
get
that's
so much
important.
better insight as well.
Yeah.
So
there's so many different things you can do from it. It's not limiting. It's meant to give opportunity, and that's what I think it's doing right now.
And I think like F1 Academy being a branch of F1 makes it so much more like closer, I guess, to like F1 and these like Formula motorsports.
It really solidifies the idea that you can actually progress
Walk
to
together.
F3, F2. Maybe even F1.
Susie's quote, "You have to see it to believe it," really, really resonated with me. Because how can you aspire for something when no one before you has done it before?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you think 2 women in Formula 1 ever, over 50 years ago, it's hard to look at. But the fact that we have all these things in place now to support these girls into climbing the ladder is fantastic.
Jess Hawkins being able to
Yes.
with
Yes.
Aston Martin, first woman in
Amazing.
5 years.
Yeah, it has to be at least. I think the only one before her was probably Susie Wolff herself.
I think it genuinely was.
Right.
So I mean,
It's insane.
It's really incredible, like how like in the space of a year, how far we've come, and like
Exactly.
how much it's like been exposed to the world and how much it's been accepted, I guess.
The talent, they're very, the prospect. Oh, I really do love the girls.
I think they're all so talented.
So passionate. Is there someone you're rooting for? Because Ria Ann Sam is my girl.
Is that because she's backed by Mercedes?
Well,
or?
also Pocket Rocket, you know. If you don't know about
fair.
Ria Ann Sam, she was very, very successful in the Ferrari Challenge. She dominated with 9 out of 14 out of the wins.
Wow.
She was involved with the Iron Dames. She's also in Le Mans. She's very, very fast, very, very talented.
And she's only 20.
Yeah, and Mercedes backed, so...
Wow.
Honestly, bit of a fan as well. But funnily enough, rooting for some of the Red Bull girls. The Red
Yeah.
Bull, the Handel sisters.
Absolutely,
Yes.
100% the Alcabasi
Amazing.
sisters. I think they're going to be
I think
phenomenal.
that's incredible. I mean, she came third in the championship
Yes.
last year as well.
Yeah.
So big things for her.
Incredible.
Big things for her.
Really, really big things. It looks like a really great horizon, and it looks like something to be watching out for with the F1 Academy. It looks like it's going to be a great season.
Yeah, the lineup seems fantastic. I mean, you've also got Bustamante for
for
McLaren.
McLaren.
As well. She's obviously very popular on social media at the
Yeah.
moment,
Huge.
so
Yeah.
loads of attention being brought to the sport. It's fantastic.
The fact that they've been able to brand themselves as well, because
Yeah.
they weren't given as much support because they weren't being broadcasted, and they themselves had to create posts and generate
Yeah.
visibility,
Yes, definitely.
and they did such a good job out of it.
100%.
I think Bianca also like made a TikTok or an Instagram post saying like, oh, girls, like it was like, girls can't wear makeup, they can't drive, and then she was like, oh well, look at me, I'm sponsored by this makeup brand, and they're plastered on my car that I'm driving in F1 Academy, so
Oh yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
like
Just also the diversity, the more people that you bring, the market gets bigger as well.
Exactly. Like it's the same thing that's happened with F1 as
Right.
well, and you would think that, or you would hope that they would learn by example, and
Yeah,
it seems
exactly.
to be they're getting there. They're making moves in the right
About how
direction.
the Visa Cash App RB is plastered with sponsors.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's the same concept.
Yeah.
Just in lower leagues.
Yeah. Tap into a new market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, that was the what's the name? They introduced this year as well that I think they're limiting it to 2 seasons.
2 seasons.
Yeah.
I saw
For
that,
a driver in F1 Academy, and I think that's actually a good thing
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's promoting kind of moving up and moving
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
instead of
Yeah.
just staying stuck within.
And branching out as well,
Yeah.
like you were
Yeah.
mentioning with Naomi Schiff, like going into journalism, like
Yeah.
maybe some of these girls, like I'm not saying that they will, but if they decided like, oh, I'd prefer to commentate or to report, like
Yeah, or
they
even
can do
going
that.
into a managerial role.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
Like you said, sky's the limit.
And any kind of representation, I think, for women in motorsport is great representation for women in motorsport. I think it's as simple as that. You just need the opportunities there for
You just
women
need
to take
more
seats.
women there,
yeah.
honestly.
Not only that, but F1 Academy, do you guys know about Champions of the Future and the collaboration that they have?
I think I've heard of it.
So it's an international karting series that is mixed gendered, and F1 F1 Academy is partnering with them to sponsor 3 drivers from each category. So it starts from the age of 8 to the age of 17.
Wow.
So they're really nurturing these
Yeah.
drivers. It's not just something for the future, but it's also like they're taking care of people now.
Yes, it's kind of like, I guess it's the financial aid as well, because you've got these young kids.
Yes.
And they need to be assisted. They need to be brought up into this, because it's a struggle to get there on your own.
Right.
That's really good, actually.
It's creating a better culture,
really
but also
cool.
really nurturing them from the
Yeah.
grassroots up.
Yeah.
Because Susie
It is
herself has
proper
said,
driver development.
Yeah.
isn't it?
right, and also the top 3 from each category, they get like a spot, I guess, in the next one. So in the senior category, they get a spot at F1 Academy. So it's a
fine.
And then the
guaranteed
rule
win.
about
really
2
good.
seasons limited is
Yeah.
perfect, because it means that you are constantly nurturing new talent,
Yes.
which is exactly what needs to be happening, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
They really put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
That's the one. It's like, yeah, it's great.
What do we think about general female fans? How they're treated? How I mean, Christian Horner, what he thinks, versus what is actually true.
Yeah.
Maybe how Drive to Survive might have played a part in it. Or
I did a little bit of research on that. I think Dominic Halley himself said that like the percentage of kind of Formula One fans that are female is, I think it's gone from 8% in 2017 to 40.
Wow.
Which is
Wow.
crazy.
That's a big.
It's
That's a
a
big.
massive jump, and I really think it is largely due to Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
I feel like that kind of mainstream push into entertainment media has really appealed. But at the same time, it's not just that, it's kind of women gain an interest in the politics and kind of the technical aspect of the sport because they're introduced introduced to it in such a way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the Netflix show has played a huge part in this, in, like you said, bringing it into the mainstream. Formula One is no longer a sport that kind of just exists around the world and they pack up and they move week on week and they race these fast cars and that's kind of it. It's become bigger than that, and obviously you've got bigger name sponsors joining the team as well, and social media I think has played such a huge part in this as well. All of a sudden drivers have gone from being, you know, just kind of in the cars to they have an online presence that they control, that the team helps them control as well. But with female fans factoring into the situation, I think there's been a lot of negative discourse to say that they're not interested in the technical aspects or in the politics of it. It is simply because the drivers, in the words of Christian Horner, are good-looking boys, which is quite unfortunate because there are fans, female fans are interested in the technicalities, in the politics of it, because it's interesting. It's interesting to sit there and watch these cars race around at 250 miles an hour week in, week out, because you are on the limit. The drivers themselves say that they are on the limit every time they sit in that car, because it's a dangerous sport, but you have a vested interest in it then as well.
Also, it's such a small sport compared to like football or like, you know, cricket or whatever. Like, there's only 10 teams, only 20 like main drivers. You kind of gravitate towards a team or a driver.
Yeah, it's all very closed off in comparison.
It's a very small. So being introduced to that through drafts, however accurate it may or may not be, it's still like an introduction. We get to see these drivers race. We get to learn a bit more about their personal lives, go behind the scenes and learn about like some financial stuff that's gone on.
Yeah,
Christian Horner.
Catering.
Catering.
Yeah. I do think it's really ironic for Horner to be making those comments, because look at his own team, Hannah Schmitz, to be so high up in the Red Bull hierarchy, and then to go, oh, women are only
it's a little bit of a
here
slap in the face.
Right,
Yeah, absolutely. I
All
think
the
it's a slap
women-
in the face.
Yeah, who are working in the factories, who are working on track or off track or whatever. What about them?
Who are part of your team. They are propelling you, this legacy that he keeps going on about wanting to build with his drivers and with other members, with other higher up members of his team. They are still members of your team as well, and to kind of have that rhetoric internally and then to expose it externally then as well, I think it's wildly unfair. It's to discredit all the amazing work that they're doing behind the scenes.
Most definitely. I feel like it really is kind of due to the fact that if you look up and down the pit lane, mostly men still there. Like you have, obviously you'll have a lot of women back at the factory kind of doing the like more managerial stuff or maybe doing social media, but there's still not the visibility that is needed. So
I don't think I know
those
any
comments kind of run rampant.
anyone other than Hannah
Schmidt,
It's crazy.
She's been brilliant though. I mean, like a lot of Red Bull success, you have to credit it to Hannah. She's, I mean, I'm not a Red Bull fan, but like what she like proposed at Japan, where Checo retired, and then like she took him back out to like race a bit and serve that penalty. Like, I didn't think anything like that was allowed,
That's
but she was
serious insight that's
That's-
needed to
yeah.
do
that's
that.
really like. Could you imagine any of the other teams doing that or
No.
Not really.
thinking
Not
something
really.
I think
similar?
like a different perspective is offered, and that's just completely forgotten about.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also with the women who are working in the F1 teams, has that not inspired you? Because personally, I want to go into F1 in my own way.
Yeah.
And right, like work towards being with the team, being with one of the companies, and it's because of the women that I see that are working.
Yeah.
So it's really having a grassroots effect. Ria, don't you want to go into?
I mean, yeah, I want to go into journalism, F1 journalism maybe. Lizzie McIntosh has played a massive role in that.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Incredible. I mean, I think she started off with TikTok.
yes.
Yeah, she
And then
did.
For her to now be a presenter for like F1, F1 TV, like that's incredible. Honestly, like
I think a lot of her fan base are women as well,
Yeah.
and she made
Yes.
such an inclusive space for women to
Yeah.
learn
Yeah.
because you're not gonna get it all right, and being able to make mistakes and not being told that
And not
you're
being judged
fake
for
or
it.
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
that is so important
like
to the sport.
oh, you don't know who the winner was from like 1973. Like
What
you
happened?
must be a bad fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's not. Yeah, I think only Sebastian Vettel is the one who can tell you the
No.
champion of every single
Fair
F1
enough.
season so
He's
far.
just one
But
of us for real.
True.
no, but
That's just the power of social media, isn't
Yeah,
it? Because you
absolutely.
think like, I've noticed such a switch up in the content creation for all these social, like all the
Yeah.
kind of team social media since Drive to Survive. It's become kind of very geared towards maybe a younger generation,
Yeah.
maybe a more
I think
female
they
audience.
show the
Yeah.
drivers more as well. Like
Yeah.
you see, like with the McLaren challenges or like the Ferrari C Square challenges.
Yes.
You get to like see the drivers, and I think that brings in more people because you scroll on YouTube and you're like, "Ooh, what's this video? Let me watch it. These two are cool. Let me see what else." And
Then there's
I
the
think-
kind of rabbit hole you fall down.
oh, that's so real.
Very,
That's
very
so real.
easily. I will say personally, the way that I got into the sport, although I love Drive to Survive, that was after. I actually got into sport because of female content creators like Lizzie explaining
okay.
F1,
Yeah.
and it's because of the women, like community of women, making it like
Yeah.
easier and more
Yeah.
accessible that I got into it. That's why I love it so
I
much.
mean, there's so many new creators now who are like posting videos because they've been inspired by Lizzie McIntosh
Yeah.
or like other creators.
F1 Tony,
Yeah.
she's great as
Yeah.
well.
She is, yeah.
Love her.
And you see their videos and their excitement and passion and wanting to break out into the sport and knowing that they actually can because it's been done before, it can be done again. And
Yeah.
See it to believe it.
Exactly. It's just kind of sad that like that interest in sport has kind of been reduced to fangirling.
Yeah.
The drivers. I kind of hate that term.
not
I think I was Rosanna Tennant, who was the kind of woman, the first woman to call a race star back in 2021. She said that like the appreciation that women have for the sport shouldn't just be reduced to that. It's kind of like they do the research.
Yeah.
They are
because we
vested
have
in
to
these.
though.
They
We
are.
have to though as well because otherwise we get questioned by men. Like
Yeah, you have to be exceptional.
have
Yeah,
to know.
you have to know 10 times more than any average male fan to justify why you are
Why you
actually
like the
interested
sport.
in the sport that they're
Not
interested in
because
as well.
they're, like good-looking drivers.
Yeah, honestly.
Do you know what the nuanced take is though? You're allowed to find them good looking and also like the
Yeah.
sport because it's such a fun
Sport to
Yeah,
watch, exactly.
exactly.
But we're not there yet.
multifaceted.
I don't
I
think
feel
so.
like, well, yeah, I feel like many male fans unfortunately don't understand that.
Right.
Also, girls getting a hard time for supporting Charles Leclerc. But then you think about Matt Gallagher, who is probably the biggest Charles Leclerc supporter ever. All those Italian men
All of them.
who have shrines
Who would lay
or like
down their
tattoos.
for Charles
Yeah.
Leclerc.
I don't think any girl would go that far for a driver.
Right. Culturally, there's like a big difference.
Yeah.
between
Yeah,
Italian
oh,
men and
100%.
I
Charles
feel like
Leclerc.
if we do it, it's weird.
Yeah,
we don't-
if they
it's-
do it, it just happens to be part of the culture. They're Italian, so Ferrari is in their bloodstream. But
just
there's
a
no
Monday.
there's no kind of similarities in acceptance when it comes to female motorsport fans being even half as passionate as what they are. And it's not fair because it sets a bad example for younger female fans for motorsports as well to say, well, you can be interested in it now at a young age, but as you grow up, this is kind of what the box that they're going to kind of try and push you into. You're not going to be allowed to appreciate it for what it is or for what you might appreciate it for. You're just going to be put in this box like everyone else.
Completely.
Also, can we talk about the fact that you don't even see the drivers when they're driving. You don't see their faces when
Thank
they're
you.
driving.
Yeah.
Like, you see the helmet and you're like, oh, that helmet.
Wow.
I mean, that's not even the case.
Duracell.
Not even the case this year with every single car being just carbon fibre.
Oh,
Yeah.
no,
I can't wait for a car to go off on like the third turn somewhere in the world
be
and be
playing
like,
guessing
yeah,
games.
it's gonna be like, wait, hold on, let me check the monitor and see who's still moving.
Was that Alpine or was that a state?
Yeah, honestly.
Who's gone?
But we were robbed by Alpine. They teased us with camouflage.
Oh yeah.
And
God,
what did we
yeah.
get?
I think they
got-
camouflaged the pink so well that we couldn't see it on the car.
Genuinely.
Fair enough.
You're not
Honestly,
wrong.
I would say I haven't trusted them since the Oscar incident.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That
Yeah.
Oscar tweet lives in my mind all the time. I think to myself, well, if Oscar Piastri has the courage to put that on Twitter, I have the courage to
True,
continue through my
true.
degree.
True. But what did Oscar
So
know?
true.
Because he cooked. And
Obviously.
McLaren now.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Oh, he made the right move.
Yeah. Good for him.
Definitely Mark Webber's influence.
True.
Yeah.
Oh, so true.
True.
I think Mark Webber said something like, the only time he registered that he wasn't going to be a champion was when he met Oscar.
Yeah, I've seen that
Yes.
before
And I
as
was
well.
like, whoa.
Yes.
Crazy.
That's huge.
I know.
Considering the ego, no offense, of these drivers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big statement to make.
Right. I do think Oscar Piastri can be a world champion though in the
Oh,
future.
totally.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm
I
still
totally agree with you.
on
Yeah.
that train. I'm also on that train.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hype train, let's go. Also 2025. Maybe a bit early, but
Who
we
knows,
will
who
see.
knows?
We will see.
If we want to go into more positives about female viewership in F1, like I've created so many new friends because of being a female F1 fan.
Definitely.
Because we've had to
Absolutely.
find our own little space. Here, for example, case in
Genuinely.
point.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing with the society. Like, I came in fresh this week, like, oh, I'm a little bit nervous because I don't know if this is going to be like a male-dominated
Yeah.
space. And I come in, and there's so many girls, and
There's
it's
so-
fantastic.
Yeah.
Ria, I do want to say thank you to you as well because she's the social secretary.
Thank you.
I
You
know.
made it such
Absolutely,
a
it's
warm,
been great. It's
loving
been
place.
from the beginning, like when you've discussed it before as well. It's just such a wonderful initiative because of making newer fans, newer female fans comfortable.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Oh, I'm blushing. But yeah, I think definitely like from last year, I think females in F1 society has definitely gone up, and it's really cool to see at circles, at the Clarendon, at any other events that we have, seeing all these like F1 fans, like female F1 fans showing up, and like, you know, meeting someone new. Like when I met you, Pramica, you were like a Mercedes fan, and I was like on the fence, like, should I be friends with her?
Fair enough.
But now, I mean, like, you can make friends so easily.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
We
Honestly.
put aside our differences.
We put aside. There's the Ferrari United as well.
2025, we're
All
there.
everyone in this room is together.
We said Ferrari and Mercedes have to come together to defeat the common enemy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
1644 supremacy.
Apologies to any Red Bull fans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we love you, by the
Oh,
way.
we love you, but
Yeah.
there's a.
There's a bit of a bias in this room.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I mean, 3 of them are Mercedes fans, and then you've got 1 Ferrari fan.
the mediator in this situation. Well, not even.
Well,
I mean, we're still united in this. aren't
Yeah,
we?
Yeah.
absolutely.
yeah.
I
I
think
will
it's
say,
cool.
flowers to Red Bull. Good job to them. Good job to Hannah. Good job to everyone behind
Yeah,
the scenes.
absolutely.
Like,
As
I
in-
mean, you can't
Yeah.
appreciate them.
They haven't
you
put
can't
foot
not
wrong
appreciate
the whole
them.
year.
Yeah.
Right.
When it comes to making a team run, I think that was one of the best examples of like
Definitely.
just
Completely.
supremacy and domination. It
I
was
I mean, the
phenomenal
car
to
didn't
watch.
even, fail
No.
at any point. They didn't have any kind of engine,
No.
whatever, gearbox.
The reliability,
I think-
especially in comparison to last season or 2020.
Oh yeah, no, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, when especially like Bahrain is the one
Yes.
that comes to
To
mind.
mind, yeah.
Both of them DNFing.
Yeah.
Yeah, ouch.
But
That
yeah.
one,
Basically.
that one shot of the Ferraris going around with the DNF Red Bull, I can't lie. And again, I'm apologetic to any Red Bull fans of listening to this, but that was beautiful. That
I
was
think
beautiful
the
to watch.
only Red Bull DNFs were when Chaco like crashed out.
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
it was.
I
yeah.
think
I
so.
don't think there were any technical issues for that.
I
I
was,
don't think so. I think it was literally just like
Bad
driver error or
driving.
Yeah.
crashing.
Yeah.
Or, yeah.
Yeah. I will say though, Checo not making top 10 for 5 races consecutively. That's very interesting given that you were in the most dominant car in history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, had it been another person in that spot, had it been a woman in that spot, do you
Who
think
knows?
that the...
Like-
Who knows, honestly.
I think the
feel like-
rhetoric would have been very,
I
very
also
different
agree.
for that kind of statistic.
I agree.
Oh yeah, that's such an interesting point. Like you think if you
Yeah.
have women in these spots, but they perform or they act in the way that male drivers do,
They would
the
get
reaction
so
would be
much
so
hate.
different because
Yeah.
the ego that these men have
Yeah.
Yeah.
is insane. If you have a woman who is walking around like that, you need to have an ego
Yeah.
to be a driver. But if you have
Absolutely.
a woman that's walking around like that, the vitriol she will receive.
Yeah.
I feel like a woman would also need to push herself like harder because
Yeah.
she is racing against these men. She's not a good driver, so she has like she will feel that like I mean if I were a driver I would probably feel like oh I need to prove to these people watching that I am just as good as these men.
Yeah.
And like so you'd push yourself.
It's
a
the
lot
general
further.
idea, like, you have to be exceptional in a room of average men.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
to be accepted. Yeah.
Absolutely.
For one step that a male driver would have to take, a woman would have to take 10 to even be considered in the same league as him, and it's just not right.
It's awful. Also, maybe this isn't related to F1 or motorsports, but the idea of like Taylor Swift and the NFL, the hate that Taylor Swift gets. Why does she get that? I mean,
I think a lot of it is based in misogyny, unfortunately.
Yeah.
but like the new like female fans who are getting into NFL because of Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
We should just celebrate people getting into sports.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who cares? Like how
Fan
you get
bases
into
are
it?
growing. More people are watching the sport. You have more people to talk to about the
Yeah.
sport that you obviously love. Rather than trying to like divide and conquer, why not just be united in the fact that you watch the sport and you can appreciate how much joy it brings you?
It's so funny because you see men that's like, oh, you know, I would love a girl that watched sports, and then a girl will say, I watch sports, and I'm like, oh, not like that.
Yeah,
not
no.
like that.
What is the offside rule?
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
What is DRS?
Yeah,
What is DRS?
explain to me what DRS is. I cannot tell you the amount of times people have asked me, what's DRS? And I've told them what DRS is, and they're like, well, actually, we don't know if you're right or wrong. Why are you asking me the question then?
Oh.
That was Adri's.
What was that? There was a story, right? What was it? Do you
Adri,
remember?
who is one of our resident F1 Red Bull supporters, love her. She was asked by this guy in a flat party what DSR was.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
wow.
it. That was
Wow.
it.
Yeah,
That
That's
was
very
it.
indicative of everything.
Yeah.
yeah.
That sums up the episode then.
Yeah, basically.
But good for her. All she did was laugh, and she walked away.
I mean,
Excellent.
She won.
Respect.
She
Yeah.
shouldn't have to explain herself.
True.
Like, we
True.
shouldn't have to.
No.
I know what DRS is. Why do you need to know?
But the
I mean,
question is,
you-
what is DSR?
Yeah.
What is
What is
DSR?
I think that's a question to pose to Christian Horner,
Right.
Christian
Oh,
Horner
completely.
only.
Right,
I
right.
mean, even if you don't know, you can still enjoy the sport.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't have to sit with an engineering manual just to be able to justify why I like to wake up at weird hours on the weekend
Right.
to watch 20 men drive fast cars.
Exactly.
Do you know the angles of the aerodynamics? What's like the angle of the rear wing?
Are you Adrian Newey?
Oh yeah.
Can you fix Ferrari's problems?
Oh,
No.
please. I would welcome him with open arms.
Oh, God.
Newey to Ferrari 2025.
Stop.
I mean,
Maybe.
there are rumors though.
There
There's
are
so
rumours.
There are
many
rumours.
I mean, we were just saying his just guy beneath him. I don't remember his name,
yeah,
but
I know
he's
who you're talking
gone
about.
to Ferrari.
Yes.
Yeah.
They might be cooking.
I mean,
They
there's
might be
a
cooking
lot of
Fred
rumors.
Vasseur,
So
please.
what is going on
In that brain,
that head of
yeah.
his.
That beautiful mind.
Also, like, there's so many rumors surrounding Red Bull at the minute. Like, these, you know, these technical people are leaving, maybe leaving, who knows.
I
And
feel like they're taking the Horner situation as an opportunity
Christian
to put out
Horner.
those
Yeah.
outlandish rumours. And
Yeah.
I think it's funny, but I don't know if any of it is true.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if they're viewing the ship as sinking, they'll run.
Definitely.
And I do think, I mean, it's a great opportunity to talk about, obviously, the Christian Horner investigation into whatever's going on at the moment at Red Bull is happening. The way that I've seen social media kind of react to his situation versus, I think, going back to Susie Wolff's earlier situation, there is a stark contrast between the kind of things that people are saying in the two situations when it's been confirmed that an investigation is taking place around
An
Christian Horner.
external.
An external
Yes,
one. It's not
exactly.
even,
Not just
it's not related to do with the
women.
F1 team or
Yeah.
even with the wider like Red Bull brand. It is something that's happening completely out of their hands
Yes.
versus
Yes.
Susie Wolff's was a rumour, a baseless rumour, and it lasted all of 48 hours. The kind of reaction that social media has given to
yeah.
these two situations, I think, again, is just it's one example of many about how women's involvement in motorsport is how it's treated.
Exactly. And irregardless of the accusations, it is said to be something from a female employee.
Yeah.
And all you can hope is that they're getting the support and the justice
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
if it's happened. I mean, you can't speculate any further, obviously,
Yeah,
because
because we
Right,
don't
we
know.
don't-
what's
we
don't
happening.
know, yeah.
We don't want to say
day of
anything.
recording, the hearing is
It's later today.
It's later.
right?
It's
Not
like-
only that,
Yeah.
he has been strongly advised to resign, but again, we don't know what.
What the situation
yeah.
is, yeah.
I mean, that was pushed by BBT Sports.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's
serious.
quite serious.
It's quite serious. But again, the kind of reaction, I've seen things about this whole situation with Christian Horner where people have responded, well, because we don't know anything, we can't really have an opinion. And yet these were most likely the same people when it came to the Susie Wolff one. She shouldn't be allowed to remain in her position. She holds too much power. This kind of collusion. What kind of image are we representing about motorsports in general around the world?
Isn't it?
And you're kind of wondering, well, where is this rhetoric going when it's a team principal on the F1 grid who has just had a stellar season. Like, it's not even like he's hidden from the public eye. He's been very vocal about what he and his team have achieved. And yet you're not seeing the same kind of standards being put against him.
Exactly.
Not only that, but I've seen a lot of people making light of the situation, which I think enrages me the most. Because you're right, we don't know, but this is a very, very serious allegation.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously we are not Red Bull fans in this room, but I feel like it's very tasteless to make jokes like Christian Horner out or anything along those lines, because we don't know.
We don't know what's actually
happening. We don't know.
Situation, so.
I also think it's ironic because I have seen Christian Horner talk about women in motorsport and kind of have a platform. There's a couple interviews because he's been asked about it and he's given positive responses, which is such a slap in the face if this, with everything that's going on now.
True.
So the men in power, do they truly believe what they're saying?
Exactly. Which is why I think with the F1 Academy, the fact that the 10 teams on the F1 grid will be having their own liveries in the F1 Academy, it means what they say, whether it's team principals, whether it's other higher ups, anyone who kind of has a media facing role in an F1 team, rather than just saying, oh, we completely believe in the representation of women in motorsport, they have to stand by it because they have a vested interest now. You don't want a car with your livery on it to not do well, which is why I think like the Kubasi sisters doing as well as what they are, or what they will do, hopefully, it will be so important to every single team on the grid.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Shout out to Susie Wolff for organising that as well.
Yeah, I mean, Susie Wolff.
Love her. It all comes back to how much we love Susie.
Yeah, we've come full circle, guys.
Yeah. So, that is it for this week's podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed, and
Thank you.